Welcome to the channel, Lessons from the Homeroom. I'm so excited that you've checked in today and you're going to dedicate yourself as growing as a reader. We are in the middle of a biographies unit, and in the past we've been reading a lot of books about Jane Goodall. So multiple books about one person, and today we're going to venture into doing something a little bit different. Today our mentor text is going to be Salt in His Shoes. So if you have a copy or you want to pull one up, go ahead and grab that so you can read along with me. But we also are going to use that book and read it 3 times. You're thinking, what? Yes, it's called close reading, and it's actually a fantastic reading strategy for either biographies or really any text at all. The purpose behind close reading is to actually read a text many times, because every time you read a book, you're going to get more information. You can dive a little deeper. It's kind of like if you were putting a pool in your backyard. It just doesn't appear. A fantastic pool happens after we dig and we dig and we dig, and then we come together and we can enjoy the pool. Or after you dig and you dig and you dig, you can really, really enjoy the depths of this book. Authors do a great job hiding in little details, and it's our job to discover them all. And many times when we read it multiple times, you will do that. So, in Salt in His Shoes, there are a couple of reasons why I chose this book. One, it's about Michael Jordan. He's such an inspiration. Michael Jordan in Pursuit of a Dream. This is what I think is really, really neat. It's written by Dolores Jordan with Rosalind M. Jordan. I'll give you a little hint. That's his mom and his sister. So I have a feeling that they're going to give us a lot of details about Michael Jordan, and we really have to dig deep and figure them all out. So we have a new anchor chart here called Close Reading. And what is it? It's reading many times to really understand. So on our first read today, we're going to really focus on these things. Of course, we are going to read it a total of 3 times. Each time digging deeper, each time pulling out more information. That's the first thing we're going to do. The next thing we're going to do on this very first read is annotate the text. What does that mean? It means that we're going to do jots. I love doing jots with Post-it notes and putting them in through the book. So again, what we're going to do today on our first read is annotate the text. Take notes. Respond to the text. All right? And every time you read, one of the biggest things we must do is read with purpose. So today we're going to really focus in on our first read of annotating the text, taking notes as we're reading, and we're also going to make sure we really focus in and read with purpose. This will be happening throughout all of them, but these are really important because this is the first exposure to this book. All right, well, here we go. Let's get started on reading Salt in His Shoes. Remember, this is our first read. We're going to read with purpose, and along the way we're going to add little notes, and I like using Post-it notes as we read of just some important things that we think are happening. So here we go. Michael loved to play basketball. Every Saturday, he followed his older brother Larry and Ronnie to the park, hoping that they would let him play. And if one of the guys who usually played with them didn't show, they always did. But there was one problem. His name was Mark, and he was the tallest boy on the court. "What's the matter, Mikey? Too short?" Mark flapped his arms in Mikey's face. "Over here," shouted Larry. But when Michael threw the ball, Mark's long arms came out of nowhere and knocked the ball away. It flew into the hands of a player on Mark's team. He made the basket and the game was over, just like that. So when I think about this, I'm thinking, this must be pretty important because the author is really talking about this bully, this mean guy, this problem named Mark. So I'm going to take a Post-it note, and I wrote on here, Mark was much bigger than Michael. I see it in the illustration. He looks so much more powerful. So I think that might be important. I'm really sorry, guys. If I were taller, that wouldn't have happened. All the way home, Michael apologized, even though no one was mad at him. His oldest brother, Ronnie, tried to cheer him up. Look, little brother, you played good today. Don't worry. We'll win next time. That's pretty impressive. I really liked that. So I'm going to put a little note on this one. And I wrote here that Michael was disappointed and thought he was the reason that they lost. And I think it's really nice because I can think about that feeling and not feeling very good. I can see in the illustration that Michael's head's down, his eyes are closed, and his brothers are patting him on the back, patting him on the head, trying to cheer him up. I think that's going to be pretty important to the story. When they got home, Michael went into the kitchen where Mama was cooking dinner. He was still disappointed, and she could tell. You guys lost again today, huh? Michael nodded. He sat quietly for a minute and then said, Mama, how can I grow taller? Now, Mama knew the answer to a lot of questions, but this one was a tough one. She thought for a moment as she sprinkled salt and pepper on the chicken she was making for dinner. Then she smiled, looked at Michael, and said, Salt. Salt? Michael looked at his mama. Salt in your shoes. You'll put salt in your shoes and say a prayer every night. Before you know it, you'll be taller, she replied. Wow, I've never heard of this before. I'm going to make an I wonder statement. I wrote on this Post-it note, I wonder if that really works. Gosh, that's really interesting, Mama. I remember when I wanted to be taller. Maybe I should have tried that. Interesting. Salt in my shoes? Michael said quietly to himself. Surely Mama was teasing. He sat staring out the window, trying to figure out how salt was going to help him grow. He noticed the rose bushes outside in Mama's garden. They had grown high along the fence, and roses of all colors were blooming in the vines. He thought to himself, I remember when Mama first planted those bushes. Michael's face lit up. If Mama knows how to make those rose bushes grow taller, then maybe she's right. Maybe salt in my shoes will really help me grow. So I added just a note that I wouldn't forget, even though I didn't think I would, but I wrote down, Mama came up with an idea, salt. And as you can see, I've placed these in my book. So when I go back and I read a second and a third time, I can go back to my notes and I can add or I can answer my I wonder statement or add some more details if I need. So I'm going to continue to read and annotate my text. Now it's your time to pick up a biography that you've really been wanting to read, get into a comfy spot with some Post-it notes and a pencil, and get ready to really, really, really read with purpose. And as you go and as you think of some important things or maybe even some tricky vocabulary words that you don't quite know yet, write them on a Post-it note and stick them in there. Because I know there were some tricky words in here, but so far I think I'm good. So as I find some more words or ideas in this book as I continue to read, I'm going to note them here with my Post-it notes. So it's your turn now to grab a biography and start our first round of our close reading. Don't pick a long book. Pick a short book to be able to read, or maybe just choose a chapter or a section of a biography. Don't make it long. Try to make sure we have enough focus and enough time to read with purpose. Don't overwhelm yourself. So, in just a moment, pause the video, read for the duration that you're expected to read each day, and when you're there, come back in and join us for the final part of our lesson by hitting play. Reader, enjoy your book. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back, reader. I hope you enjoyed your book or a small section of it. I was able to finish the rest of our book, Salt in His Shoes, and I want to tell you a little bit about what I learned. And what's so great is I was thinking about it, because I added those Post-it notes, I can quickly go back and tell you some of the things that I read about. This makes it really nice for us. So as I continued to read, I remembered that salt was such an interesting thing, and Michael Jordan and his mom really had this very close relationship. And I could tell in that, you can even see that in just the illustration right here. And then I was continuing, and there was a really tricky word right here, and I decided to grab a different color Post-it note and write it on a different color, just so on my second read, or before I read it again, I can look up that word. So I put it right there in a different one. And I have to tell you that his family was so close, and Michael was hoping to grow and grow and grow. And so he was just in love with basketball, and he wanted to be determined, and he wanted to be successful. And one night his mom snuck in and poured salt in his shoes while Michael was sleeping. And those were his beloved shoes. And his mom said a little prayer over Michael, and they went to church, and you can see Michael wore his basketball shoes everywhere he went. I think it's because the salt was in there and he felt it in there. And instead of going to the park, Michael started to stay home and practice and practice and practice. Even though he really loved the park, he decided to practice at home instead. But things didn't happen the way he thought they were going to happen. He didn't grow. Months went by. He didn't grow. So I wrote here, Michael did not grow, but he kept on practicing. Makes me really think he's a dedicated kid. But man, I really could connect with him because I've been disappointed like that before. I was really hoping that one day I'd be a better soccer player, and I tried and I tried and I tried. So I know that feeling. But his dad had a really good talk with him, and his dad cheered him up one day, and he decided, I'm off, Dad. And I wrote here, with his dad's encouraging words, Michael went back to the park. And here's another word that I came across that was really hard for me to sound out, so I put it in a different one, and I'm going to look that up before I read it again. So Michael goes back to the park. Somebody gets hurt, and they say, Michael, come join us. And then they said, all right, we've got a tie game. We just need one more point. Who's in for the shot? And Michael, after his dad's conversation, said, I can do it. So, do you think he does it? Well, he worked really hard. Michael got the chance to play, and he got the winning points. That was my note. And there was another word that I'm going to need to look up when I read it again. So he got the point. And then at the very end of the story, I love this final page. The last few pages, I should say. I love the last few pages. He burst in the door. He's so happy, and you can tell the love within his family. They were all so proud of Michael, and I noted here that Michael was patient and he worked really hard. That's what it said in the text, and everyone was so happy and proud of him. And here's the last page. So that must be what made Michael grow to be 6 feet, 6 inch tall basketball superstar. It was such an interesting book, and I know that when I read it again and I look up those words I didn't really know, I'm going to really understand the book even more. So, Salt in His Shoes, Michael Jordan in Pursuit of a Dream was a fantastic first read. We read with purpose, we annotated the text. Now before our second read, we're going to look up the words that we found tricky or the vocabulary words we didn't know. Make sure we understand them as we venture into our second read this next time. So readers, great job checking in today and growing. You guys are learning how to close read a story, and especially with all the details of a biography, reading it more than once is extremely powerful. So thank you for doing your hard work today. I'll see you in the next episode. Great job, readers.